Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. This is John Suntress. It's awards season, and it's 2020, a new year. Very exciting. I love this time of year because I like awards season. I get to participate. I'm a member of SAG, the Screen Actors Guild. So I get to vote for the SAG Awards. That's coming up in a couple weeks. And, get to look at a bunch of screeners and Oscar contenders. So I'm really excited about that. That will figure into some of the conversations you'll be hearing this week on Word Balloon. Also great conversations with comic book creators as well. Don't worry about it. But I thank you for listening. As always, thank you for listening through the commercials and not fast-forwarding. It means a lot. Pays the bills. And questions or comments about the show, reach me via email, john@wordballoon.com. Follow me on Twitter @JohnWordBalloon or on my Facebook page under my name, John Suntress, and the Word Balloon Network page. One more spot, and then we'll start the show. Thanks for listening. Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, happy to welcome Matt Kindt back to Word Balloon. It's been a while, but I'm really excited about his brand new series, Bang, from Dark Horse. He describes it as his Black Hammer. And I understand, too. It's a great concept. It involves espionage and classic spy stories and a bit of science fiction in there. It's a really, really great opening issue and totally took me away, and I'm really excited about this series. And happy to welcome Matt back. I'm a big fan of his ideas, going back to his books like Pistol Whip and Super Spy. We're both old-time radio fans, and that certainly comes into the conversation as well. Just a lot of fun. And, again, one of these guys that I wish we all lived in the same neighborhood and we'd hang out a hell of a lot more because we share so many interests. And you can hear the smile in my face, as I like to say, when I'm describing Matt's new book, Bang, the subject of today's conversation. Matt Kindt on today's Word Balloon. All brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners who help sponsor the show via their support on Patreon. Thank you greatly, League, for your wonderful support. It means a lot. You keep the lights on for me here. Word Balloon is free. It'll always be free. But if you like what I do here and want to help out the cause, I try and bring you the best conversation and entertainment every month. To help me out, you can subscribe to Word Balloon by going to patreon.com/wordballoon or clicking on the Patreon ad on the front page of wordballoon.com. But thank you greatly for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. This episode of Word Balloon also sponsored by Aftershock Comics. They are shaking 2020 up at your local comic shop right now with upcoming new titles. Like John Layman, the great man from Chew, is back with a brand new series called The Man Who Effed Up Time. Zach Thompson's Undone by Blood. God Killers from Mark Sable. They'll be going along with other Aftershock current favorites like Marguerite Bennett's Animosity with Raphael De La Tour, Donny Cates and Gary Brown's Baby Teeth, A Walk Through Hell from Garth Ennis and Gordon Suzuka. Garth Ennis has so many books at Aftershock, and plus their catalog is filled with more works from some of my favorite people in comics like Paul Jenkins and Cullen Bunn and Tim Seeley and Phil Hester and Brian Azzarello and so many more. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, art preview pages, and how to order these books through your local shop with diamond codes at AftershockComics.com. All right, let's get into it right now. We're going to be talking about Bang, the brand new comic book from Matt Kindt, a great spy story with a wonderful beginning. And here's Matt to tell us more on today's Word Balloon. Matt Kindt, welcome back to Word Balloon. It's been a while, but I'm, as always, whether I see you at a con or I've got you on Skype, always happy to say hello to you, so welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I like what you've done with the place.
We're on Skype, everybody. He's not live with me, just so you know.
If you can't tell, pretend I'm right there next to you.
That's very good, man. That's very theater of the mind of you. I shouldn't expect any less. So, new book, Bang, and damn, man, once again, as I've told you, Matt, from Pistol Whip and Super Spy, our first conversations, I always love when you go back to spy stuff and crime stuff, and this is another great beginning to a very cool-sounding spy story. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. You know what's funny is when I first started writing this, I was thinking about you.
Really?
And, yeah, this is totally true. This is not BS.
This is ridiculous, but that's really, I'm incredibly flattered already, but go on.
No, yeah, I'll continue. But, because I know that, like, you interviewed me a long time ago, like we talked when Pistol Whip and those early books were coming out. Yeah. And I know that and you bring it up every time about, like, radio serials and how we both love those and everything. And,
yes.
And the old pulp stuff. And I was doing this and I was like, oh my God, John's you're going to love this. And I was like, we should talk about it, and then of course I forget about it. But now here we are talking about it.
Well, yeah, like we were saying off the air, Dave Hyde is like, hey, you got to talk to Matt about his new book. And I'm like, of course. I mean, anytime you've got something new, I'm happy to welcome you back. And it's been a while. I think Department H or Depth, which is it of those two? Like
It's Department H, but I accept Depth as well.
Well, sure.
My stupid, clever titles are always confusing. So
well, and it takes place underwater, so it works both ways. But that's cool. But man, no. Every time you have something new, it's always exciting to hear about it because I like the way your mind works. So yeah.
Thanks, man. Well, that's what. Yeah, the new title's Bang, so there should be no confusion as to how to pronounce it. If somebody comes up to me and they're like, "Is it Bang G or
Banj?"
Yeah, Bang exclamation point. I'm like, no, it's Bang.
Well, the opening incident lets you know right away that it's Bang. Absolutely, man. It's great, and you're right. It absolutely is my wheelhouse of the things I like about spy stories. It's a modern story, but there are certainly echoes of the Cold War, and it figures very much in the plot that there are, air quotes, echoes of the Cold War. Give people the elevator pitch, because I'll let you, spoil or describe as much as you want in your words.
I don't know. Here, let me just tell you. I'm going to tell you how I came up with the idea. Is that right? And
The
elevator pitch.
Any way you want to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'll do the elevator pitch. It's pulp characters sort of jammed together. And then you're going to find out through the course of the series that it's like a team. So there's like a James Bond super spy character, and then there's a Murder, She Wrote sort of detective, and then a sort of a Knight Rider style high tech woman, and then and there's a sci-fi author, like Philip K. Dick-esque author, and then there's like an action hero who's basically just like he's like a cross between Bruce Willis and I can't think of his name. I can never think of this guy's name. I don't know why. I told you earlier that
me a title movie.
Terrible names, but Death Wish. Who's that? Charles Bronson.
Jeez. Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
That's
if I say
right.
Death Wish, then I remember the name.
Okay.
I don't know why it's linked that way, but my brain's wired weird. Anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah. So those are like the main characters, and then issue 1 you really only see sort of the spy guy, and he's been activated, and then is going to go after the rest of these characters.
Excellent.
Try to put a team together. So that's kind of the elevator. That's like a long elevator. We went to the top floor.
That's all right
for the elevator pitch. But yeah, and here's the thing: is I was thinking about you when I was coming up with the idea, and the reason was because I was coming up with a new thing, and I was talking to my editor, and this is really behind the scenes, but he's like, "Hey, we want something new from you, And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, "What's your black hammer?" Was literally what he said. And I hate it when people. I was like, "Yeah, you know what? If I had a black hammer, I'd be doing a black hammer."
Well, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like everybody would. Everybody wants.
Well, and also, man, it's like, hey, how about one of my ideas as opposed to Jeff's idea?
The irony is, he was like, Jeff, when he was doing Black Hammer, or at the before he'd started it, we had talked about doing it together.
Oh, no kidding.
We were gonna, and I was,
oh wow.
And I was like, because we really wanted to work together on a thing. And,
wow.
And I was like, that sounds like fun. But then when we started talking about it more, I was like, you know what, Jeff, I don't really want to do superheroes.
Fair enough.
And I don't regret it, because Jeff has more of a love, I think, for that genre than I do.
Okay.
Even though I do love it, but I'm happier just to read his than to be involved in it, because I just feel like, especially with my creator-owned stuff, I don't want to. There's already enough superhero books. I don't want to do another superhero book. I don't think I need to put one into the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a tough sell. I mean, you know, Jeff really is, I don't want to say lucky because obviously there's talent involved, but no, I think you're right, man. I think good ideas, I mean, I kind of blanch when it's like, all right, another superhero thing. I'm like that with zombies as well. It's like, all right, I guess, you know, if that's what you really need to do. I don't know if you're going to hook me with it or whatever, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, and it's just from a creator standpoint, and I love Black Hammer, and I love reading Jeff doing it because I think he's got such a crazy way of coming at it that it makes it interesting to me. You know, it's like there's just a few writers like that, like Alan Moore did it, and Gaiman does it, and so it's fun to see that happen. I didn't have it. I didn't have my heart wasn't in it.
Okay.
So then I was like, man, I don't want to. And then I did like a thought experiment. I was like, well, what would mine be? What would I do? And I was like, if it's not superheroes, what do you do? And I was looking around my studio, and I have all these old pulp books like Shadow and Doc Savage. And I was like, well, what was the genre before superheroes? You know, because I love genre stuff. And I was like, oh, well, I think the stuff I love is like the pulp stuff. It's like adventure heroes and Shadow, Doc Savage, those guys. And I was like, well, that's what I'll do. I'll just put a team together that's like my version of Doc Savage and my version of the Shadow and my version of, and then I was like, well, who cares about, nobody cares about those characters anymore. And this is when I thought of you. I was like, well, yeah, I know one other person that cares about them. So it's me and you.
It's kind
and I was like, well, this is dumb then. I don't want to, well, that's kind of a dead end. I had a whole pitch written with my takes on that. You know?
Okay.
I was like, well, this is, people don't care about those. People really don't care about those characters. Other than like a few weirdos like me and you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, you're right.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that do,
but I think you're right. In general, that we're in the minority. Remember when Azzarello wrote Next Wave? I think it was called Next Wave. No. Next Wave was the Marvel thing. I can't remember what it was called. First Wave. And it was Batman with Doc Savage and a couple other pulp heroes.
Yeah.
And Azzarello, when they made the announcement at like one of the Wizard Chicago shows, I'm like, oh, this is great. He goes, yeah, you think it's great. He goes, like, you, me, and like 5 other guys. Yeah, Nobody's going to want to read this. You know?
Yeah. And that's the thing is I was like, oh, that's what, like, Jeff is tapping into superhero. People love superheroes.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, look at the movies that are out. It's just such a great genre to be working in because it's popular. So then I rethought it again. I was like, okay, well, if I can't use Doc Savage, like, what's a popular version of that? You know, like what's a more modern version that people will respond to or people would actually care about or be interested in, you know, because nobody knows who Doc Savage is anymore.
Right.
And then, so I just started extrapolating and I did like this crazy timeline. And I have this book, Philip Jose Farmer wrote this book, and it's basically like a biography of James Bond, and it has a timeline or has a family tree. And it's as if all the pulp characters are related.
Yes,
like
the Wold WLLD Newton universe. And the only reason why I'm interrupting you is letting people know if you want to Google this, it's amazing how Philip Jose Farmer connected all the great adventure heroes in this phenomenon and then timeline that they're all distantly related, and he kind of connects the dots.
No, it's great. And Sherlock Holmes is in there, I think, at the beginning. And anyway, so I was like, well, what if I did, what's that if I extended that, you know?
Wow.
And so then I started drawing all these lines, and I was like, well, and that's how I came up with, like, you know, you go through the 80s and the 90s, and then I was just thinking about television and, like, all the detectives and the different kind, like the Murder, She Wrote and the Avengers, the TV Avengers.
Yes.
And then, what the heck else? Yeah, and Charles Bronson and everything, and Bruce Willis and that sort of archetype. It's sort of like, and freaking Knight Rider, like all that stuff is. That's the next generation though. Those are like if Farmer was going to extend that family tree, whatever. That's where the tree goes.
That's true. Sam Spade's grandson was Michael Knight from Knight Rider. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, but what's crazy too, though, is like of all the only character from back in the day that like even like 50s that people care about still is James Bond. And I was like, well, okay, So that's one that we can keep. That archetype, we can keep that one. But how do you keep it? And so then that's the big twist. I'm kind of blowing the first issue, which I don't care. The story is going to be good anyway.
Absolutely.
It's not going to rely on the twist. But if you don't want to hear the twist, there's a minor spoiler. But I think it's only 7 pages in that you sort of get the twist. But the twist is that the James Bond character, Thomas Cord is his name in the comics. Mm-hmm. But Thomas Cord is a code name, not the man's name. So he dies. Like you have the big opening set piece, big action. He gets the thing and gets the girl, and then he gets killed.
Yeah, very Bond pre-title sequency opening to the first issue of Bang. Go on.
Yeah, and then and so then it resets, and now we've got a new Thomas Cord who's younger, and but he has all the memories and he has all of the training, and he thinks he's Thomas Cord. And so what they do is we'll find out later. This is a spoiler, I guess, but I don't care. Who cares anymore? But no, they brainwash him and with all the memories of the training of the previous one. So he comes in thinking he's the guy.
Yep.
But the cool thing about that is then he's got these memories from the 60s of a woman he worked with who back then who was like a detective, and now he meets her again in modern day, and she's older. She's like 70 years old, mm-hmm. and she doesn't recognize him because he's a different person. He looks different, but he has all these memories of her, so he knows her. Yep. So I think that's going to be kind of a fun sort of psychological thing to mess with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But also, this guy, the difference between this Thomas Cord and all the other ones is he's going to have sort of a mental break and figure out what they've done to him. And because over time, like with all the brainwashing and the training, it's sort of messed up it's sort of short-circuited to the Thomas Cord character. It just becomes more ruthless and in a way it's kind of explaining like why he's such a womanizer and why he doesn't care about killing people and can joke about it and that kind of thing. You know, it's a way of sort of rationalizing, like if that James Bond character existed in real life, like why he's kind of a psychopath.
Sure, absolutely, you know? Man. No, you're right. Yeah, and that's a fair way to look at what was just happenstance and part of paperback adventure back in the 50s and 60s, and the general populace didn't blink, but certainly now, today's generation looks back at that stuff horrified. And absolutely, I mean, they keep having to justify James Bond as a modern character, and you'll have moments like Judi Dench as M saying you're a dinosaur and you're a misogynist, and I mean he always gets these whoever the current Bond is has to kind of like live with that legacy. It's very interesting because technically it's the same character. And by the way, I like your idea because I always said, and there was that cross-gen book Kiss Kiss Bang Bang where their James Bond was basically a code name. Mm-hmm. And then, if you remember that book and everything, and I think that's like a good way of explaining how James Bond has this very famous name, and literally, Mr. Bond, your suite is waiting for you. And it's like, world famous secret agent seems to be an oxymoron. I'm not sure how that works exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So, and along with, again, the sins of the past and being a misogynist and being a lot of bed hopping and also killing and stuff. So, no, I love that. And I think that's a really cool way to go and explain the device of what the secret agent represented in the past and how it's perceived today. So, no, I love it. I love the twist, and I think it's great.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah. The thing is, I love the old James Bond still.
Sure.
It's not that I don't, it's like the old movies are great, and so I don't want to rewrite it or candy coat it or just apologize for it or anything. I think you can go back and watch those and enjoy them. They're fine. They are what they are,
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, but as a grown man, 46 years old or whatever, I don't want to write that. I want to write something that's a little more nuanced and interesting and but also fun. Like,
Yeah.
it still needs to be fun.
Well, that's the thing, man, and I got to tell you, no, the way you've got the story paced, and forgive me, I don't have it in front of me. Who's the artist?
Wilfredo Torres.
Yeah, now amazing, Wilfredo Torres. I mean, the way it's drawn and the way it's laid out and everything is fantastic, and truly, I think, great action, evocative of the best action parts of Cold War spy stuff, and that great period of secret agent stuff from the 50s and 60s, but also with the modern spin and also the complication of what's to come. So, no, I think really, I think visually it pops, and I meant to ask. So, I mean, it's great, and I love what Wilfredo's done with the book, and it's beautiful. How much did you give him? Did you give him breakdowns, or did you guys discuss pacing, or is it just, hey, here's the script, do what you need to do?
Yeah, we talked about it. I think, especially that first issue, when you get that first page turn with the title, there was a lot of back and forth where I don't usually, I'm not super picky. Like when I work with an artist, I want them to bring what they bring to it, But with that one, we really coordinated because it had to be just right, And
sure.
I think initially, like the pitch is fun and the book is fun. But at the same time, that page needed to be kind of gory. And I don't know if Fred, I think he hesitated at first. He didn't want to draw something super, violent. And I don't blame him, but I was like, we need like a stick in the eye, like that page.
Yes.
It needs to be a stick in the eye that's like, hey, the art, the book, the cover, the colors, it all looks super polished and kind of mainstream in a way, like what you're used to seeing and reading with this kind of book. And we need that page to be like a wake-up call.
Absolutely.
Like something else is going on here.
Yep.
And so that one, I think I pushed him a little bit out of his comfort zone with like the violence. But I think it had to be.
Well, yeah, it snaps you out of the routine of seeing like what looks like a similar or a typical action sequence. Okay, we're in super spy world. Okay, great, and also getting to the point of a classic Bondian moment. I don't want to spoil any further, but yeah, and then all of a sudden you get this shocking incident, and it's like, no, that's cool, and then immediately there's the titles. So that's why it's like, no, it's very You Only Live Twice. If people are hardcore Bond fans, will get the message. And if they're not, then they can still enjoy the book. And
yeah, that's okay. Go back and watch it. Is that the one that Roald Dahl wrote?
I don't know if he wrote the script. He might have been. It was the one in Japan, where we first meet Blofeld. But it's that pre-title sequence,
again, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
Roald Dahl wrote that, and
there you go.
There's a theory that he wrote it with the idea that everything after the opening title sequence was a dream. Like
that's amazing. I never heard that story.
Yeah, so you got to go back and rewatch it. I read this and I haven't gone back and rewatched it yet, but go back and rewatch it and then see if that makes sense. But the whole thing is after the titles is, and in a way, like I think that's a good sort of parallel to this book. Is like that opening title sequence. Everything else is different. It's not a dream. I'll tell you that. The book is not a dream, or there's no trick like that at all.
Yeah. Well, and it obviously, like you said, that the original super spy is dead and his memories are implanted in the current guy. So yeah, no, it's a great way of, like I said, shocking us, and then you realize, oh wait, this is what's going on. No, and also I love the fact that I always judge these first books in terms of how satisfying of a read is it, and do you want to continue? And I really think you've achieved what needs to be there for a first chapter. Because that's tough, man. I mean, and again, it's a crowded magazine rack, to metaphorically put today's comic market. So I think it's really hard to get people's attention and get them excited about a new book. And I think you, honestly, no hyperbole here. Truly, I think you and Wilfredo have done a great job, and it's a satisfying read. And you're asking the reader, okay, you know what's going on, or at least you know the initial incident. Do you want to keep going? But at least you know our $3.99 or $3. I don't even know how much it is on the rack, because if it's $3.50 or whatever for the first book, do you want to keep going? And it's like, okay, that's cool. And if not, well, you got a satisfying read that had a lot of story in it and a lot of character in it too.
Yeah, no, that's good. Did your version have the text pieces at the beginning and the end?
It did not.
Okay, yeah. So I added. So you haven't read it all then?
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you think that already. But when I read it, I was like, it's missing something.
Interesting.
And then, so I wrote. I'll send you a new PDF if you just want to read it. But
yeah, I'd love to read it. No, absolutely.
Every issue is going to have like the inside cover and the back cover are pages from like a spy novel. So it's been scored, and but they link to the first page of the issue and then the end. So like the last page will sort of answer something that wasn't in the issue, and the opening page sort of sets up the beginning of the issue.
Okay, cool.
So narratively, it's not a thing on its own. It's like the beginning of the story and then the end of the story.
Okay, very cool, man.
I thought I'm glad you liked it. I felt like it needed a little more. Okay. A little something.
And you said every issue is going to have these kind of bookends.
Yeah, and every issue will. So
interesting.
It's just a way to sort of like, and I wrote it in the style of like 1960 Ian Fleming.
Fantastic, outstanding.
So it's violent, a little bit sexy,
cool.
kind of dated, But
good.
But it's fun.
For you and me.
Part of me, yeah, exactly. Part of me was I just wanted to write in that style because I think it's kind of fun.
That's excellent, man. Well, you've done that before. You've had prose with your comics.
Yeah,
before.
And I always have a problem with it. I always don't like even with Watchmen. Like the first time you read Watchmen, how many people skip the text pages because it's like you just want to get to the story, and then you'll go back and read it. This is me. This is high school me. It's like, I want comics. I don't want. If I want to read a book, I will read a book.
That's so
I want to
great.
read a comic book.
That's a classic. That is a classic reader opinion. I didn't read a book. I want to read comics.
Yeah,
it's like, okay.
Here's the thing: is you're not wrong either. Like I think it takes it's a different mindset. Like when you're sitting down to read it, it's a different mindset. Like one thing is forcing you to use your imagination, and the other thing is forcing you to use your visual decode the visuals. It's totally different ways of reading. So I think you have to do it in a way that's not invasive.
Right. Well, it's a mindset. Yeah, you got to accept that. I can appreciate. I personally have loved the inclusion of text in various comics, and obviously it depends on the writer in terms of the success or failure. But honestly, this is what I love about comics, and that it can do more than just the straight narrative of a movie, a television show, a radio play, what have you.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's an extra thing you could do, and I just think it needs to be done the right way. Like you can't be too much, and like the pages, the pages are like kind of burned and torn because I didn't want to write. I don't want you to have to read 3 pages of prose to get to the story.
So is it like parts of? So is it parts of the book? It's like kind of like a portion of the book is missing or whatever, or the page.
It's like page 72.
Hilarious.
But I wrote it in a way where that page 72 is totally critical to you getting to the first page of the comic.
By the way, that reminds me of Mind Management and the way you collected the story, and it's volume 1, volume 3, volume 6.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
On purpose, because obviously there are holes in the memory of the story and everything. Yeah. So that's I love that, Matt. That's hilarious that you do stuff like that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. But I'll send you a new PDF. So you can,
it'd be my pleasure. Truly, thank you so much. Yeah, man. No, I really want to read it. That's wonderful. That's great. No, honestly, man. Well, you can tell by the smile in my voice. This was great. This is like it's got good energy. It has good questions. Like as always, I think you develop these interesting, complex stories that, as they continue, the puzzles unfold, and we're taking on a good ride. So, but I really do. And again, I'll look forward to seeing the front and back matter that you put in the first issue of Bang. But no, honestly, I was as I was reading, I'm like, oh, this is great. Oh, this is fun. So honestly, people, if you like a good spy story, I really think Bang's the start of something big, and I think it's going to be very, very cool. Is this a limited series? How obviously my management had a nice long run. Depth had a nice long run. What do you think for this one?
The plan is to sort of introduce all the characters and then have a complete story in this arc, and then split them out. So like, so there'll be like a spy book, there'll be a like an adventure hero book, and there'll be a like the Murder She Wrote detective woman. She's like 70, so her book would be like her in the 60s, young, split with her being 70, and sort of go back and forth.
Sure. Well, and like you said, this is like your Black Hammer, so you're setting up your universe.
Yeah.
And then you're going to focus on your heroes.
And what's great is like then I can do all this. I can do a detective comic, I can do an adventure comic, and a spy book. And it's like it satisfies everything I want to do. But it's funny.
Great idea.
Like even with the text pages and this book, it had several different versions before this one. But the idea was always to do something that was just like straight up action. Like my very, very first version of this book was going to be just a graphic novel, and it was just a guy who goes on a revenge killing spree. Okay. Somebody died, and and it was just going to be guns and shooting and explosions and cars and like Death Wish. And I was going to draw it because I feel like everything I do, there's so much there's layers and thinking and ideas, and I wanted to do something that was just explosions and action and everything. And I was like, and then that's why the title Bang, that's where it came from. I was like, let's just keep it simple. And, cause I feel like I do, one of my least favorite, fan comments I get from my management is like, it makes me feel dumb. Makes me feel like I'm missing something. I was like, I don't like that. Like, the thing is, because it's management is work. Like if you get everything, you have to read it a couple times and really dig into it.
Much like Revolver as well, another one of your graphic novels from the day. So go on.
I feel like I do. Like that's always my intent. Is like, you're paying $4 for a comic. I want you to get your money's worth.
Absolutely, man. Yes.
But I also don't want you to get to the end of the last page and be like, I feel dumb. That is not my goal. So in a way, I think Bang, I'm trying to modulate that, trying to walk the line a little more where I don't want you to feel dumb. I want you to feel entertained and you got your money's worth.
I'm with you, man. No, and isn't it interesting? Like, I can't believe that somebody hasn't already used Bang as a title.
I know, right? Like
for real.
It seems so,
obvious.
Yeah.
But that's great. No, and I think it's a great umbrella title for all those characters because they are all in some way involved. I mean, even the Murder She Wrote woman and stuff, Bang. I mean, so I think it kind of fits every possibility of the team that you're setting up here. So that's cool. And no, I understand. And truly, I appreciate as an older reader a more complex comic. And I never felt dumb reading your stuff. But like you said, I think you put a lot in, even going back to Pistol Whip and Super Spy, which I think are deceptively simple looking, because of even your art style and also the way you laid out the individual stories in a lot of ways and stuff, especially like in Super Spy and stuff. But it's like, no, there's a lot there, and I think that's deceptively terrific, and I really I love it, and again I'm intrigued. I don't know how many times in the past you've worked with another artist.
Gosh, yeah. It's funny, like, I've done Marvel, DC, and Dark Horse.
That's true. And Valiant. Books.
So I've worked with a bunch of artists, but but there's definitely like the creator-owned stuff I do, and with those artists, it's a different relationship than, like, when you're doing Marvel and DC stuff, you're kind of, you have a middleman that's sort of takes care of the in-between stuff. But with everything else, I've worked directly with the artists, and so every book is a little bit different. So the collaborations every one of them is different,
Is this yours and Wilfredo's concept then, moving forward, or do you envision yourself having different artists for the different chapters to come?
That's probably going to be up to Fred. It's our book, and if he wants to draw everything, that's great. And if we want to, I don't know, we haven't really talked that far ahead yet, but I know, like, he'll do the main core book, and then maybe we'll have somebody else do some of the side books.
Sure.
But I don't know. We haven't figured it out yet.
Okay. This initial,
if he can draw it all, I want him drawing it all. It'd be great, But
I understand. Well, and obviously he's in demand. He's a very great artist that always finds work, and we enjoy seeing his work. Is this going to be 5 issues for the initial arc or 6? What's the plan?
Yeah, 5 issues.
Okay, excellent.
And, I got a bunch. I have a bunch of stuff.
Clearly,
out.
Yeah.
But we'll always see. It's always sale. So go support the book when it comes out monthly, and then we'll get more of it.
Understood. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, and also I love. There's something about the Cold War that I think, and I mean, I like modern spy stories too. And there's certainly the layers of conspiracy are always there in espionage stories and stuff. But there is something about the Cold War, and I guess maybe because it's the first stuff that you and I were exposed to, that's why we love it so much. And also we grew up in the 5-channel world, the pre-cable world and stuff. So all that classic stuff was just bombarded to us. Not just Bond, Man from U.N.C.L.E., the Matt Helm movies that of course are now, I think, at least back in people's consciousness because of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Which I still haven't seen. Have you seen it yet?
Oh yeah. Oh man, you gotta see it. Probably
I will.
4 times.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm sorry if everyone's sick of me saying this. I'm not saying this to brag, but my radio union merged with the Screen Actors Guild, so I get to vote for the SAG Awards. And as we're recording this, I've got 2 more days before I have to turn in my ballot. So I still have to watch Bombshell, the Fox News movie, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Those are the 2 that I have left of all the screeners that I got. And so, no, I just, it's a 3-hour movie. I'll probably see it tonight, frankly.
Yeah, do it.
Oh, no, I will. And I'm aware that obviously Margot Robbie is playing Sharon Tate, essentially, if her name isn't Sharon Tate in the movie. But I know that obviously, and she was in that one Matt Helm movie and stuff. And, of course, I've seen that Matt Helm movie a million times. So, and boy, you want to talk about misogyny. Good Lord. He makes, Matt Helm makes James Bond almost look like a choir boy in comparison. Jesus. So, Dean Martin, of course.
That's funny. No, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there's like a deluxe Blu-ray that I got, and it comes with like a little 45 record in it.
Man!
Like a Mad magazine with
I have to get the Blu-ray.
It's so great. It's like the best design. It has everything right up my alley.
From that era. That's fantastic. Yeah. Jesus, that's amazing. Oh my God. Wow. Had you ever wanted to write for Mad? Because I could see you doing some fun stuff. I mean,
I don't know. I don't think I'm funny enough. I don't think. I think I can do stories that have funny parts to them. I don't think I could do something that was just straight up funny.
Oh, because I would think because you're so, I think, skilled at doing a great 6-page story or less or more. I mean, so you could even do something brief the way that it would fit in like a Mad magazine sort of format.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Maybe I should try to do something funny sometime. But no, I grew up reading Mad magazine. I loved it. We had the little paperback books where they collect the stuff, and then and then the magazines we'd have all the time, and Sergio's little comic strips on the bottom of the page. It was so great.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. It's right up my alley. But my problem is I would do a 6-page story. It'd be funny for 5 pages, and that last page would be something super sad. And I don't think it would work.
The hell is this?
Yeah,
sorry about that,
This
Dean
is the most depressing story I've ever read. It was so funny, and then
that's outstanding, man.
I don't know. No. Maybe there's a market for that, though. I'll have to give it a thought.
There you go. Well, I hope I've inspired something. That would be great. Jesus, that's very funny, man.
No, one of my favorite. Chris Ware did this strip. This is like,
do it.
He did this strip where this kid's stuck on an island. And he's missing his mom and everything. It's kind of a funny little strip. And then the Superman character comes along and he's like, hey, you want to see your mom? And he's like, yeah. He's like, okay, here's a quarter. Go over. And then put the quarter in that machine over there. And it's one of those little machines with the cards that flip that make animation.
Oh, sure.
So he puts it in there and then looks in there, and it's his mom in like a dirty movie.
I was going to say, of course it is. Jesus. Hey, way to go, Superman is a dick. That's fantastic.
But I feel like that's what my Mad magazine story would be like. I don't know if that's appropriate.
Jesus. I just heard Gilbert Gottfried's most recent podcast, and they were celebrating Ernie Kovacs. You know Ernie Kovacs?
Is he the baseball player?
No, Ernie Kovacs was a great comedian who really played with television, the video side of television. Was just this genius visual comedy guy.
Huh. Okay.
And really brilliant stuff. And his wife was Edie Adams. And Edie Adams is this beautiful blonde chanteuse jazz singer, great-looking model, everything. Made a ton of movies in the 50s and 60s. And her son discovered a Playboy magazine, and basically they had, in classic misogynistic Playboy fashion of the 60s, the top 10 women that all the men want to bang, basically. Mm-hmm. And his mom was number 9.
Oh my God!
and much like your Chris Moore story, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh man, what the hell? So
it's terrible.
Exactly, and he's like, and when she was older, he told her about it, and of course she laughed, and she's like, "That's fantastic," because she was a senior citizen by then. That's what he felt comfortable telling her. But yeah, it was pretty, So yeah, your Chris Ware story reminded me of that anecdote that I just heard recently. So yikes. So Edie Adams, if anybody is interested in looking her up, she's a lovely woman, and she was a very funny actress and a very great singer. It was pretty cool. Oh well. Anyway, I've derailed this, but
no, that's okay. We're having a conversation.
That's what I try to do with every word balloon. So no, Matt, you get it. You've certainly been here enough to understand the process, and I do appreciate you recognizing that as always. So that's really great. Have you, as we always talk about, other stuff that we enjoy, and I really, thanks for the tip on the Super Deluxe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. First of all, what's on the 45?
It's 2 songs that are in the movie. I think the Sharon Tate character is dancing to one of them, and then the other one is something else. I haven't played it yet.
Okay. Okay.
I just got it because it was cool.
You have a turntable then, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. I just, in the last couple of years, finally bought a turntable again. And isn't it interesting? I don't know if you heard this on the news. Vinyl, for the first time in decades, outsold CDs. It doesn't surprise me, given where the music market is today. But isn't that interesting that vinyl very quietly has, come back and been the dominant format?
I got back into it a couple of years ago. I had a bunch of records from back in the day, and I had all my parents' records, like their Beatles albums and everything that we grew up with.
Wow.
And then, but then I bought one a couple of years ago because all I do now is I go to work and I listen to Spotify all day, and I couldn't even tell you what I heard. It's just like a constant stream of whatever music.
Yep.
And I don't listen to it. It's just on.
It's wallpaper. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, man, I want to listen to me. I don't listen to the words. I don't focus on it at all. So we got that, and then I'll just, it forces you to focus, to actively listen, and then you got to get up and turn it over and keep you involved in it. And I just kind of fell in love with it again. And that's what did you ever get I did a mind management record, a book and record. Did you get
remember
that?
When you did that. I did not get it.
I got to send you one. I'll send you one because it's done in the old Power Records style. But it's a project I'd wanted to do forever. And then I met a guy, Clint McElroy, who's a fan of my management. He did all the voice acting. He sounds just like the Power Record acting.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it's so great. But it's like a read long story. There's a comic book and the record, and then you can but it's my management, so you can play it backwards. There's a secret message backwards. And then and and the sound doesn't actually go with the comic all the way. It tells you one story, and the visuals sort of there's a discrepancy between what you're looking at and what you're hearing, but in a purposeful way.
Did you ever hear the Monty Python albums?
No.
The Monty Python albums, there's one in particular that there are 2 different, all right, and sorry kids, if you don't know how records used to be made, they would, be on a blank piece of, whatever, wax, let's just say. And as the needle was, vibrating from the microphone, be transmitted into the needle would make the grooves of the album. And so you just normally had, each song would have its own separate track cut. But on this Python album, they had a second groove embedded on the same side. So depending on where you put the needle, you suddenly got a whole bunch of different sketches than where you might have initially put the needle. And a lot of people were incredibly confused by it, but it was this awesome gag by the Pythons to have more material on the same side of the album, just deceptively there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love those kinds of tricks that you could play, obviously, with vinyl. And so that's amazing.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do with the form. I think Jack White, his new album had something like that, where there's like a hidden track. You put
that's great.
The needle on a different way. And then there's like a thing they're doing now with like a hologram, like they etch into the vinyl, and then you shine a flashlight down onto it, or from your phone. It makes like a crazy hologram. It's like an optical illusion.
Wow.
Jack White had one, and then I just bought what did I buy? How about the Guns N' Roses like deluxe vinyl set? And then on the back of the album has like a 3D hologram of their logo.
That's fun.
Which
That's
is kind of cool. But and I think there's a Star Wars album that has it too, but it's like a TIE fighter that looks like a hologram. Anyway,
that's
you can do
amazing.
a lot of stuff with vinyl.
Well, and I was going to ask you regarding, and it's funny that you mentioned what you did with the Mind Management kind of power record presentation. Knowing that you like old time radio, I was going to ask if you've been listening to any newer audio dramas produced, because man, I'm so thrilled that, to kind of keep going after you've listened to all your favorite old time radio shows. I would go to a lot of British and Canadian audio, because they're still thriving and still making stuff for CBC and BBC. And even independent companies like Big Finish has been doing a great job with existing intellectual properties like Doctor Who and a lot of other big television shows and film franchises and stuff. But I've been thrilled that ever since, podcasting has really exploded, so many independent groups have come up with really good audio dramas. And I'm really thrilled with, like, the new stuff that's coming out, because they're using the new tricks of audio and the new technology and, apps that are available to kind of make a good sounding production. And the writing is great and the acting is terrific. And I'm just blown away that audio drama is thriving right now in the modern age.
That's crazy. What's funny is I only listen to like nonfiction. Like I listen to a lot of true crime stuff and documentaries and like, but so tell me, recommend something. Tell me what's a good drama.
There's a new suspense anthology show that I'm sure if you just looked up suspense, you'll find it. And Susan Eisenberg, my buddy, who is cartoon Wonder Woman in the Justice League cartoons, the old Justice League cartoons, and she was just in the new movie that came out last year with the Fatal Five, Justice League versus Fatal Five. She's been on suspense a few times. There's one, I can't remember the name of it, but it was on an NPR show, and I just stumbled on it. And it was this amazing dramatization about an explosion that happens at a naval base. And there's an inquiry and everything, but it was so well acted, and the sound effects sounded great. The music sounded amazing. I'm trying to think of what else. Again, I mean, if you listen to BBC 4 Extra in particular, that channel is kind of the great drama and comedy channel. And there are sitcoms and there are dramas and so that's the BBC stuff. And the Canada stuff I kind of stumble on. I don't really know any regular series to give you a name and stuff, but I'm sure again if you do CBC drama, I'm sure a bunch of stuff will pop up. But yeah, oh god, it's really great. They the BBC in the last few years, God, actually this is a lot longer than that, but they kept adapting the Douglas Adams Hitchhiker books.
Yeah.
So they continued, even, there's like 5 books or whatever, so they continued, and they got Simon Jones to come back and be Arthur Dent, like he was in the original radio drama and in the original television version of Hitchhikers and stuff.
Oh, man, that's great.
Yeah, and even, what's-his-face, I think before he passed away, the original Zaphod came back as well. Mark Wing Davey, I believe is his name.
That's crazy. I'm going to have to look that up. Yeah. That's I got a buddy of mine in Toronto is developing Super Spy for podcasts.
I'm so glad to hear that. Drama. That's fantastic. Yeah. That's wonderful.
It's a perfect format for that. Because television, it'd be fine, but I don't know. You have to, the period stuff, and with television, I don't know. It's just harder. And
I think it's more expensive. Yeah, because I think it is more expensive to get the look again of something. Did you watch, I don't know if you have Epix, and I'm only just watching it now, Pennyworth. The Alfred prequel.
No. Is it good?
It is. And I mean, it's fine that they've just. I mean, and there was always hints that Alfred, before being a butler, was like an MI6 agent of some sort or a special services agent. They made allusions to it for years. I mean, even I think going back to the 70s. But this really, it's set in the swinging 60s, and he's very young, and it works. And I mean, it would be fine if it wasn't Alfred. I mean, it has very little to do. I mean, Thomas Wayne is part of the story, but it really is kind of Alfred just doing a bunch of his own things in swinging 60s London. And it's great. It very much feels like a good, spy thriller of its time and stuff. And it works. It works for me. And 10 episodes in the first season. I hope they keep making it. And I have no idea if they're going to make a season 2 or not.
No, that's a great idea.
It's excellent. Yeah,
I didn't know what the concept was or whatever. That's a great use of that IP.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because every episode has a woman's name, and it's a classic character from 60s spies. Like one episode is called Lady Penelope. Yeah, and she was, as you had a boy,
Does
know
she look
already.
Like the Thunderbirds, Lady Penelope. Is she wearing all pink?
That's the idea, at least that she's called awesome. Lady. And there's one even. And then they have real
on the show now. I'm going to go watch it right after this.
I kind of figured I knew who I was talking to, Matt. Exactly. And there's one called Cilla Black, and Cilla Black was like a British pop singer of the 60s and stuff. So yeah, no, it's cute how they chose that for each episode and everything.
Lady Penelope, you got to be kidding me. That's crazy.
I know. Thunderbird, exactly. So yeah, if you didn't hear Matt, I was talking over him. That was Thunderbirds, the Jerry Anderson puppet Team America original from the 60s.
It's so good.
Yes, and Lady Penelope was kind of like their British lady hot spy.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's amazing.
Man. So that's great, though. Super Spy being adapted for audio. I love it. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Jesus. Is it going to run? So, like you said, it's going to be a podcast. It won't run that's cool in itself.
Yeah, I think so. And, we'll see. We're still in the early stages. I just basically agreed to do it, and they're going to kind of run with it. And
that's great.
Figure out casting and acting and scripts and all that stuff. I don't have the bandwidth to do it. Because I would. I'd love to just quit everything and do that. But
Matt, believe me,
so many balls in the air.
I hear you, man, and I kind of feel the same way. I've got a couple ideas that I would love to adapt as audio dramas, and it's just time management to make that shit happen. But I'm kind of driven to pursue some of these projects and stuff, and it's like, no, this is too good of an idea to just be in my head. I really want to do this.
Yeah, I know, right? The older I get, the more I collaborate, because I feel like. I can't do it all on my own. I want to do everything, and I just can't. So it's like I got to find people to collaborate and work with.
There you go. Well, and I mean, you're about 7 years younger than me, and I always say, Mark Schultz. A couple of years ago, we were at a convention, and it was me, Mark, and Rick Remender. Mm-hmm. And Mark is, a few years older than me, in his early 60s, and he's like, "Oh man, I still want to do this. I want to do that." And he goes, "It's just like managing the time." And Rick, to encourage him, is like, "Oh, Mark, you're not an old man." He's like, you shouldn't feel like, you're not going to be able to get this done. You're still great. And I'm like, no. He's not saying he can't do it. It's just finding the time. And I go, it's not that we think we're old. It's just we know the clock's running. And that there's, I mean, it's, we still have productive years ahead of us, just not as many as we had in our 20s and 30s. So it's like, let's get this shit done while we still are able to do it and want to do it, and let's pursue these ideas. And I feel the same way. And I also feel, and again, I don't know how you feel about this, but I really think as people are becoming more and more internet and digital savvy, that I really think our age group in particular, not to ignore people younger than us, but I really do think that people, find the things they like, and they want to get more of the flavor of what they like. I really believe that, you don't have to stop or worry about, I'm too old to appeal to a new audience. I'm like, I think the new audience is still discovering things online. And I really do think that, the door is still open for more listeners to discover this stuff. And it's like, don't worry about your audience, like, as I'm doing the air quotes, like getting too old or dying out or whatever. It's like, no, the ideas are still interesting, and I think they're still there. The potential's still there.
Yeah, no, I mean, the way things are now, like, there's enough audience. There's so many people in the world that there's enough audience to sustain anything. I mean, that's why comics aren't dying, is because people can still find them. You can find them even easier now, because of the internet and everything, and technology and the iPad and it's just easy. You need you don't have to hit it big and like mainstream to be successful. You can find your following, and that's enough.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask, and I'm glad you feel that way, and I'm assuming based on, I mean, again, like you said, I mean, occasionally you'll still do the DC or Marvel thing or Valiant thing, as far as, doing an established character and doing new stories for them and stuff, but the creator-owned stuff is going okay?
Yeah, I don't really have an interest in doing anything but creator-owned.
Oh, moving forward? Okay.
And I would never rule it out, because it's like you never know. It's like freelance life, so never,
Sure.
It's really hard to turn anything down, never burn a bridge.
Sure.
But yeah, between my relationship with Dark Horse is so great, they let me do whatever.
Yes.
And then Boom has been really great to work with.
Wonderful.
They have access to great artists, and
yes.
Matt Smith on Folklords is freaking amazing. And then I'm starting a new thing that's going to be announced next year with that I'm going to. I can't really. I guess I won't talk about it. I don't know what I'm supposed to say, but
okay.
I'll just say it's a new company called Bad Idea. So, and then one of my buddy from Valiant, is involved. So I think that's available to the public. But I'm working on a bunch of stuff with them. That's going to be exciting. But yeah, it's all creator owned. I might do something with DC coming up. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It's okay. That's the thing is like, it's time management. It's like, I got to get my stuff done, and yeah. I don't know that I have enough room to do the other, as much. It's fun, but at the end of the day, anything that's not creator owned is in a way, as a creator, it's also kind of a dead end.
I understand.
It's like a one-off, It's
yes.
Like I enjoy the characters and I enjoy the universe, and but at the same time, I don't know. I don't need. I can do whatever I want. I just want to do whatever I want then.
Well, again,
it's sustainable, so why not?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, you're obviously, if it's creator owned, it's going to be something that when it's out and when it's traded and stuff, there's still a revenue stream. You don't want to think just crassly about that, but also what feeds you creatively, and goes back to what I just said in terms of, we just know as men in our, middle ages, I guess, that, yeah, the clock's running, do the projects you want to do. Whereas that, Superman's going to continue whether Matt Kindt's writing it or not.
Right.
So when you say it's a dead end, I kind of get that in terms of, well, yeah, the character will continue whether you're working on it or not. They don't necessarily will need you to sustain the character and everything. So no, do your stuff and do your ideas. And also, again, God, I mean, what year was Super Spy? Or even was Pistol Whip was first, right?
Pistol Whip was 2001. And then, man, Super Spy was 2006 or something.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't remember.
But yeah, Pistol Whip. So yeah, man. I mean, 18 years ago, Pistol Whip. That's awesome, man. Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. And I wanted a starting point because, look at the audience you've built with things like Mind Management and Department H, excuse me, and all these great ideas, man. No, I think it's terrific. And you, like Jeff, we tipped our hat to Jeff earlier and stuff. No, you got a really great, unique voice, man. And I like your storytelling, and I like your ideas, and I think you do interesting concepts that are layered and more than what, is worthy of a surface read. You really do want to go back and reread a lot of this stuff. And really, what you've got going with Bang, yeah, I think it's the introduction of something really, really cool, and I certainly want you to continue with this. So that's fantastic. No, give yourself the time and space needed to, realize what you want to do.
Yeah, no, the thing is, I love comics, so I just want to do as much as I can and come up with ideas, and not just to make comics in general, but like to keep the medium sort of like alive, you know, with new ideas and trying different things and different formats and different all of that stuff. So that honestly is my true love. And what's funny is I share a studio with Brian Hurt.
Yes, indeed. How is Brian, man? I haven't seen him forever.
I can see him right now. He's working at his computer. He's probably checking email.
All right. When we're done, make sure you let him know I say hello, and
I should pass the phone over there if you want.
I was going to say I should have him talk soon and do a new talk whatever he's currently working on. I love Brian. Good dude.
No, he's great. He what did he say? Oh, so I'm writing the pilot for Mind Management
Wow.
TV, and then he was like, and I'm excited about it because I'm like, oh, this is great, and like writing for television is a different discipline, and you can do so many different things with it that I haven't been able to do in comics. Like just have like characters have a conversation, sit down, have a conversation.
Yes.
Which, like, if you do that in comics, you got like 8 pages that are so boring to look at. You just can't really do it, But
I understand.
I'm writing this pilot, and I was like, oh, this is great. There's 2 characters from my management that I know all of their back history and their relationship with each other, but there's only so much you can show of that in the comic. And in the pilot, you get more in the pilot than you get in the whole series of Mind Management, just in like this 5 or 10 minute scene, And I was like, it was so fun to do. And then Brian was like, he's like, you're just gonna get sucked into that world and write.
No.
Just write television. I was like, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's fun to do, and I like adapting my stuff. And he's like, no, if you're gonna start writing, whatever. He's like, if they offered for you to write some other show. And I was like, you know what? I have no interest in writing something that's not mine. And I don't care what it is. Like, the television money is good and everything, and the writing is fun. But it's like, I don't want to be a writer on somebody else's thing. I just don't, it's not in my DNA, but I hadn't really thought of it until he said that. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I need to be in control of the story.
Well, Kirkman, has proven that that's not true. I mean, all of his TV stuff and everything, and he's still cranking out not only, what existed before in Invincible and Walking Dead, but obviously still coming up with new comics and stuff. So, yeah, I think that's a choice. And now I got to ask, obviously, I don't know what you can tell us about writing the pilot. Can you tell us the production company that's commissioned you to do it? It's Universal?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so we're going to write the pilot and then
shop it.
Attach, yeah. But it was great because they paid me to write it, and
sure.
And they here's the thing is, I wasn't the first person to take a stab at it and everything, and they finally all the versions we've seen, I was like, they're never quite right, nobody really thought they were quite right, and I was like, well, let me do it.
Excellent.
It's my thing. Like, nobody knows it better than I do. So they let me write it, and it was great because I made it as crazy as I possibly could. Like,
terrific.
There's subtitles that you'll have to turn on. Like, they're not going to be subtitles. You'll have to turn them on, and it's going to be something else.
Hilarious.
And then there's commercials, and there's
fake commercials in the pilot.
Yeah,
hilarious.
And it's just completely nuts,
Excellent.
But they loved it.
Honestly, I think. And forgive me for assuming this and tell me if I'm wrong, but no, I really do think that the production companies want fresh ideas and want crazy. And I mean, you look at things like Legion and some of the other groundbreaking TV that we've been getting in the last few years, that they want nuts. And I mean, God, look at the Boys adaptation on Amazon and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I really, and really, I was going to say what you said about how it's great to have that extra space to just do a conversation. I just had Mark Miller on last month. He said the same thing about Jupiter's Legacy. And he's like, what would have been a flashback and maybe a page in a comic? He goes, I can do a whole episode of the series and really give it the room to breathe. And that's the great thing. And it's a really interesting time. And in some ways it is overwhelming, the various streaming platforms that continue to grow. I mean, Peacock and HBO Max are still coming. And, or my favorite example that I keep talking about lately on episodes is that Mad About You reboot. And it's like, what's that streaming on? Oh, it's on Spectrum or whatever. I'm like, I don't even know where the hell that is.
I know.
I don't even think we can get that. So, it's amazing, but I think it's exciting for content creators because, I think they need it. They need product, and in the most crass way, but also they know they need something that's distinct and crazy. And so good. I'm glad you're getting the chance to, do it your way. Yeah, because I think TV needs fresh voices and fresh ideas.
It's good. And what's funny is like that's such a writer thing to say though. Like that, I can to be able to take a whole episode to do the flashback or to have a 10-minute conversation, because it's the writer's point of view.
Sure.
Like, as you're saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, but so then it feels like is comics lesser, but I don't. No, it isn't. Comic books aren't lesser. It's a different kind of storytelling.
Absolutely.
And so I think as a writer, like the writer half of me, because I do both. So the writer half of me is like, this is great. They can talk back and forth, and people will be interested. And it's not like 20 panels of talking heads in the comic.
Right.
So that's great. But yeah, when you're doing comics, it's a different art form. So you're just working in a different way. Like, I don't think it's lesser. It's funny because I was reading I'm not going to say what I was reading. I was reading a mainstream comic by one of the larger publishers.
Okay.
And I was like bored. I wasn't liking it. And I was like, I don't think I was like, maybe I just don't like comics anymore. I don't like reading them. And I was kind of bummed out. And then, and I had a stack of these. And so then I picked another one up. I picked this book up by, what's his name? Keekly. And the book is called Purdy, Perdy. It's a Western.
Okay.
And the artist writer is, he changed his name. He was Sam Heady. He was like a kind of an indie guy. Did a bunch of great books. Anyway, amazing cartoonist. Anyway, he sort of changed his name and took time off and came back with this book. And I guess Image published it. It's an Image hardcover.
Okay.
But it's sort of like a funny Western, but with some heart to it and everything, but kind of European looking.
Cool.
I read that next. So I read that thing I didn't like. And then I picked this up and I was like, yeah, I don't hate comics. I'm not tired of reading comics. This guy's like doing storytelling. So there's panels with no words and like actions happening, like a woman escaping prison and
cool.
People sad to see her leave, but it's all done without words. And then there's some emotional moments and some funny bits. And, but it was the storytelling. And I was like, well, that was what was missing from that other thing I read, because there were big images and captions over it, but there's no, it was so weird. It was like a disconnect between the writing and the art. And I was like, you're not using comics right.
That's very fair in that specific example. I also think that as we get older, we still love comics, but I always, sometimes I make the connection of the way that especially the big two tell stories. They're like carnival rides, and in the best way, that they're fun, but you can only ride the Tilt-A-Whirl so many times before you're just like, all right, I've read I've done the Tilt-A-Whirl thing. I want something different. And it's not that they're, and again, I think in your specific case, it was the storytelling that, obviously was missing from the big two example that you're talking about. But also there's that feeling of, all right, I've done this before. And I remember one of the big events that happened at one of the big two. I heard a podcaster go, I'm a grown-ass man. I can't be fooled by this stuff anymore. And it's like, well, I understand, but I also think maybe you're too old to appreciate the fun of this device. By all means, you obviously still love comics. Read other comics and read different comics, and there's nothing wrong with that. But also the big two, and again, not your example, but it's not the big two's fault that they're still kind of relying on the same tricks, and I mean that just as descriptive, not in any pejorative way. But okay, you've ridden this ride before. You want something different. You want something, that is surprising to you. And so you see all the tricks in this event that's happening in the big two and everything. And it's like, that's cool. And and some people can still enjoy their old carnival rides and still appreciate new stuff. And then there are those people that are like, no, man, I want Superman crashing through the wall, clunking the gangsters' heads, untying Lois and flying away. That's what I came for. So, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So, but it's just, like I said, I just think as we get older, and also thankfully, the people that grew up reading comics have their own ideas, and I think we're getting, again, a wider base of story ideas and storytelling.
Yeah, no, there's so many different kinds of comics out now than there was when I was a kid. It's just amazing. Like, if you can't find something you like now, you're not looking hard enough. Yeah. That's why I don't. like I never post about, or I never really talk about things I don't like, because there's so much out there that I do.
Absolutely, man.
Unless I'm just going to contrast it. But yeah, I'm always just trying to promote like the thing I like, because I just want to be excited about comics, and I don't have any problem with Superman punching the guy through the wall or whatever. My problem is I want to see his arm cocked back, and then I want to see it hitting the guy, and then I want to see the guy flying through the wall. I want those in different panels, you know?
Okay.
I just want the storytelling, and that's just such a simple breakdown. But I want the storytelling. I want the art to tell some of that, not just
understood.
I don't want Superman having already swung and the guy through the wall all in one panel. I don't like that.
I'm with you.
And that's just me being like, having written and read so many comics. I think I just am pickier as I get older too. But it's the same. Like Scorsese took all the heat for what he said about the Marvel movies. I'm like, man, the thing is, he's not wrong, but I still like going to see the Marvel movies.
Sure.
They're fun to me. Like there's a thrill to seeing these characters that have always just been on the page, coming to life. You know?
Oh my God, yes.
And that never gets old to me, you know, because I grew up reading this stuff. It's awesome seeing it, I think.
We're 2 days from when the Academy Award nominations were announced, and I found it funny. Again, I agree with you. I understand where Scorsese is coming from. I think he was a little too harsh with his word choice, and it really did take him like 3 times to walk it back and be like, look, I respect what they're doing. I just think I like making movies different and whatever. I can't deny I did crack a smile when Joker had more nominations than The Irishman. Yeah. I'll tell you, I didn't love Joker, but you know, like interesting art, it's been in my head in a different way, because I love The Irishman. I thought The Irishman was excellent. But I have to say that I do keep going back to Joker. But for me, and I'd be interested if you did you see Joker first of all?
Yeah, I did.
I liked it. I liked it, parts of it. I also think I've seen too many, or I've read too many Batman Joker stories, and it kind of clouded my opinion. And also, I keep going back to the analogy of it's like a great cover band doing a song that I think a generation of listeners never heard the original and are blown away by what, you know, the cover band did, without realizing, oh, you know, if you knew King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, it might cloud your opinion of Joker, and that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, it's like Weezer covering Reigns of Africa, and it sounds just like Reigns of Africa. My daughter loves it. And I'm like, this sounds exactly the same. I don't understand.
I never heard that cover. I want to hear Weezer's cover now.
I love Weezer.
Yeah, me too, man.
But yeah,
that's hilarious.
It's a funny thing. But no, my thoughts on the Joker are, because I'm coming from the same place. You've probably read even more Batman Joker than I had. But
I got 7 years on it.
But here's what I like. I think Joaquin was amazing.
Yes.
And then here's the nerd itch that got scratched for me. This is what my favorite part of the movie. You'll never guess what my favorite part of the movie is.
I can't wait.
No one would ever guess. And this is why I feel like the movie's flawed. There's other flaws like plot and the ending and just some of the story stuff I had a problem with. But it was worth it to me for the one scene on the bus where he's laughing and that lady's mad at him and he hands her that card that says, I'm sorry I have this condition where I laugh when I'm nervous or whatever it is. The thing that explains the medical reason why he's laughing. And I was like, I freaking love that. I was like, this is great. Like the nerd in me just wanted that explained. I was like, why is he laughing all the time? You know, and I love the idea that it's like a medical condition where he's nervous or stressed and then he has this sort of nervous tick.
Sure.
I feel like that helped made the comic bookiness of the character make sense in the real world, which is kind of what, like my approach to comics is always like that. Let's take this crazy idea about how would it be for real?
I'm with you.
And I feel like they did that. And I was like, I love that part.
I felt like by the end of the movie, especially when he got more comfortable in terms of who he was and stopped obviously taking the medication, I almost wondered if the laughing, you know, was really almost like his subconscious fighting the medication or affected by the meds that he was on. And you know, that's all kind of part of which again, I agree with you. I appreciated that level of where the story was. But yeah, it was just like you said, there were just plot things about it, and I don't want to spoil if people haven't seen it already, or if they've heard my
I already
spoiler
spoiled
discussions.
The very best part. So sorry, I should have said.
Hilarious. No, and I do think Joaquin Phoenix's performance is definitely nomination worthy. And that's the thing. So, and also, man, I'll tell you, again, as much as he is aping a lot of Scorsese tropes, I do have to hand it to Todd Phillips because I think he is a much more nuanced filmmaker than just the Hangover movies. And it was so funny. I was the other day, I didn't realize, because I had seen the movie before, that he made that Gods of War or Lords of War with Miles Teller and Jonah Hill.
Oh yeah, I didn't know he did that one.
Yeah. And it's funny because I found myself watching it again, and not a great movie, but entertaining enough. And at the end, it said, directed by Todd Phillips. I'm like, oh, look at that! Isn't that interesting? So I do think he's a filmmaker to watch, and, I from that standpoint,
And I don't think he made that movie not knowing.
Sure. The Scorsese tropes.
I think he did that conscious of like Taxi Driver exists and King of Comedy exists.
Sure.
And like that's his like sort of a twist on it or whatever. Which I think is kind of I don't think he's hoping you don't know those exist. I think he knows they exist and he's assuming you probably do too, and then doing
that's fair.
Something
that's
with
fair.
it, but I don't know.
No, and also we accept that from Tarantino. I mean, Tarantino lifts the best ideas from a million different filmmakers and stuff. So why should it only be Tarantino that it's okay to do that?
That's why I feel like every creator is reading and watching and listening, and they're putting it all in their blender and then like shitting it out in their own special way,
Sure.
So it's and some people do it. Some people don't blend in enough.
I'm with you.
And then you get a problem. There's a problem, and then some people come up with something new out of it, And,
I'm with you.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to attack Joker or defend it. I don't feel that strongly either way about it. I did like that one scene on the bus. I thought that was great.
There you go. That's cool.
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing too is like with the Marvel movies. That's what I think Scorsese was only. I think it's like with anything. Like sometimes I want a comedy, sometimes I don't. And sometimes I want to sit down and watch a 3-hour mob movie. And sometimes I want to watch the Avengers beat up somebody.
Yeah,
it's like sometimes I want funnel cake and sometimes I want a hamburger or steak.
I'm with you, man. Did you want? And forgive me. Do you want to promote any of the Boom stuff that beyond Bang? Anything else you want to promote?
Oh yeah. Folklords is out. I don't know what issues come out. Matt Smith's doing the art on that. And then, is there another? Am I forgetting to promote something? I probably am. Yeah, Folklords, Bang.
So what? Tell me about Folklords. I don't know much about it.
Oh, Folklords. Matt Smith does the art on that. He's amazing. He's like if you haven't seen his art, imagine somebody took Alex Toth and Jeff Smith and then jammed them together into somebody that's completely original.
Is that Matthew Dowsmith?
No, I don't know what his middle name is. Matt Smith. He did a book called Barbarian Lords or
Okay.
Okay. Oh my God, I can't remember the title right now.
A lot of Matt Smiths out there.
I'll look it up.
Obviously, we're not talking about the 12th Doctor either.
Yeah, I'll look it up while we're talking because I can't remember titles or names ever. Obviously. But yeah, no, it's about a kid who wakes up and he lives in sort of like a fairy tale land. There's like elves and gnomes and different things, and the conceit of the story is that when you turn 18, you have to announce your quest and go on your quest.
Okay.
So it's which is sort of born from an idea that I got from Brian Hurt, my studio mate, because we were working on a thing, and he's like, I wanted to do a Conan style story, and he's like, yeah, we'll do one, but no quest. There's always a quest. Everybody's questing, and it just made me laugh. I was like, okay, so we were coming up with ideas that weren't quests, but then I was in the back of my mind, I was like, what if I did a story where everybody's questing? And so that's really where the idea came from. I was like, we'll do one. When you turn 18, you go on a quest. So he's going on his quest. Meanwhile, everybody's bumping into is off on some other quest. They're all doing something stupid. So the first issue, there's a whole 2 pages where people are just announcing their quests, and it's all just this funny, crazy stuff.
Hilarious.
Anyway, so that's it. And then there's like a twist. He dresses in a suit and tie that looks like it came from our world. And then we don't know why. Blah, blah, blah. There's a twist.
Interesting. All right. Very cool.
But it's
Folklords.
Cool. Matt Smith's art is amazing.
No, that sounds cool. Beautiful, man. Well, Bang starts in February from Dark Horse. And I can't wait to read the front and back matter to get more of the story, because you've intrigued me with what you gave me. And like everyone listening, you know I love good spy books, and Matt has certainly proven himself in this genre. And I think Bang is another great example, and I think it's the start of a really cool idea, if you could tell from, again, the smile in my voice as we've been describing it. So go to your store and order Bang from Dark Horse, and it's, like I said, it's coming out February 19th. I'm looking at it right now. At least that's when it's expected, according to the descriptions I'm reading right now. But another great concept from Matt Kindt, and it's a great opportunity to talk to you again, and let's not wait years for our next conversation.
Okay, sounds good, man. Thanks.
There you go. Matt Kindt and Wilfredo Torres' Bang is coming out shortly from Dark Horse Comics, and absolutely worthy of your attention, as is most of Matt's other wonderful works over the years, as well as Wilfredo's works. So check it out and support this book. It's a pretty amazing book, and I think it's absolutely worth your time and money. Bang from Dark Horse Comics and our buddy Matt Kindt. It hits stores February 19th. I hope you enjoyed today's Word Balloon. It was brought to you by Aftershock Comics, who are shaking things up here in 2020 with incredible books like Marguerite Bennett's Animosity and Baby Teeth from Donny Cates and Garth Ennis's Walk Through Hell. Well, guess what? There's brand new titles coming up very shortly. Also in February from Aftershock, John Layman's The Man Who Effed Up Time. Also later on, Zach Thompson's Undone by Blood. God Killers from Mark Sable. So many wonderful books for the Aftershock catalog. Check it out. Go to their website and you'll find out more about these books and others. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to get these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks, as always, for checking out Word Balloon. More great stuff to come before we wrap up January. Another episode that dropped today, a review of the new CBS All Access TV show, Star Trek Picard. Episode 1 dropped on Thursday, and I loved it, and I have a review with spoilers. So after you watch Star Trek Picard, make sure you listen to me and Franco from the All Yeah podcast and All Yeah Comics, talking about the stuff we loved about and stuff we didn't like about Star Trek Picard. It wasn't a perfect show, but it was entertaining enough, and I think I'll be on for the whole season, and I think I'll be doing episode reviews right here on Word Balloon to keep you posted and hear what you have to think about Star Trek Picard. Thanks a lot for listening. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2020.